Hey everybody, how's it going? This is Eric back with another beer review today. We have another Third Wheel Brewing beer. This is called Sandman Red Ale. I'll give you a look at the can here. Again, not too familiar with why they put the design on their cans. I'm not sure what moon and all that has to do with a red ale, but I guess Sandman, like the song, Metallica song, I'm sure that's what the reference is, because the moon, the sleep, and all that, you know what I mean. Whatever. Anyway, this is the first time I've seen it. Let's try to get as close as I can. That is a silver medal right here at the American Beer Festival, right there. And that's pretty cool. Full disclaimer, I've had this beer many, many times. This is definitely my favorite beer from there. It's got a March and Oktoberfest style to it. It's really good. I always like red ales anyway because they're nice and sweet. A lot of malt. Because I'm not a big fan of hoppy beers. So this fits perfectly. It's got Nugget Mount Hood hops in it, so it doesn't have a lot of hops. It's got Maris Otter, Munich, rye, caramel malt, grains. And then obviously the caramel malt is what gives it that brown color, because when I pour it, you'll see it's got a nice red mahogany type color to it. Excuse me. So, let's give a tap here on the top so it doesn't explode. Hopefully this one is not overflowed like the last one was. And it is a little bit. So, not as bad as the one was the other day that I did, the last one, but it's still a little overflowed. A little lower on the filling on the cans, guys, and I think we'll be okay. Because, again, these are pressurized cans, so they're going to have, it's not a lot of space to begin with. Okay. Enough talking, let's pour the beer. Okay, slowly pour it here so we don't get too big of a head on it. You can smell it from here, all the malts in it. But again, like I mentioned, let's just pour the rest so it doesn't overflow on me. Alright, cool. I'll give you one more look at the can. Oh yeah, and I forgot to mention, again, they're all 16-ounce cans, and it's 5.8%. So it's a little heavier than your standard beers, like Bud Light, Budweiser, Miller, which are typically 4.5 to 5. So that's 5.8%. But, yeah, you can definitely see it's got the red mahogany type color to it. And there are and I mean a ton of bubbles coming up through it. Let me get a little closer here. It's kind of hard to tell, but you got the reflection off the phone. There we go. Yep, there's a ton of bubbles going up through this. So it is a very effervescent beer. Pretty hazy for a red ale, I would say. But it is a dark red ale, again, with the caramel malts giving it that color. So yeah, you can definitely smell the sweetness. Some pardon me, I got the TV on here. Some roasted malts, you can definitely smell that. I'm getting a little bit of hops, but not a lot, just a little bit to give it a backbone. Because you don't want the whole thing to be a malt bomb or just be a sweet drink. Maybe a little bit of like dirt. You know, when you pull weeds or whatever, you get that dirt smell. But It's very malt forward, I'll say that. Alrighty, let's give this a taste. Oh yeah, just like I remember it, it is very, very sweet up front. I mean, it's just all caramel. Maybe a little bit of toasted bread. Maybe if you like toasted a piece of cinnamon flavored bread or something like that. And then that toasted flavor comes from the darker malts, the caramel malts. A lot of this, and I keep saying caramel malts, but it's true. A lot of this beer, I'm sure, has a lot of that malt in it because of the flavoring and the coloring. Right at the beginning when I swallow, there's a little bit of bitterness from the hops, just a bit. Then you get the sweetness like instantly right after. I'd say maybe a second after you put this beer in your mouth, you get the bitterness. Then you get the sweetness for a few seconds. And as I'm talking, and I've never noticed this before, but as I'm talking, you're getting some bitterness on the back end. I don't know what hops that was. Let's see, what was in this one again? It was Nugget, which I've never heard of. I've heard of Mount Hood hops, but I'm not familiar with hops enough to know what they do and what each tastes like. So I don't know. I don't know enough about it, so I'm not gonna say things that aren't true. But when you taste it right away, you get the bitterness right away. Then you get the sweetness transition about a second or so after, and then about 2 or 3 seconds after that, you get the bitterness of the other hops. So that's pretty good and complex for a red ale. Let's give one more taste and see if there's anything else we can get out of this before we wrap this up here. I'm not really getting a whole lot after that. I'm just getting that bitterness, sweetness, and then bitterness again. So, I mean, it's got really good flavor. It's done really well. And then with the bitter, sweet, and bitter transition, I'm gonna give this a 4.5 out of 5. Yeah, I'm gonna give it a 4 out of 5. We'll go with a 4 out of 5 because I know there are other beers that can do this kind of stuff, and there are other beers at this brewery that are brewed with a lot more. There's a lot more to it. This is a year-round beer as well. I forgot to mention that earlier. This is a year-round beer, so this is something that's, lack of a better term, the mass-produced beer of this brewery. It's around all the time, so they have to use the same stuff over and over. They can't just throw a bunch of extra stuff in there and risk losing money over it, I would guess. But yeah, I'm gonna give it a 4 out of 5. We'll give it a 4 out of 5. So that's that for this one. Stay tuned. We might we have a potential for a little bit of a rain-snow mixture later tonight. If I get a chance to, or if it does start falling as snow. We've been getting rain all day, but if we get a little bit of snow transition, I might film it. But it's really cold and crappy out there right now, so I might not. We'll just see how I feel. But otherwise, stay tuned for that if I decide to do it. But anyway, otherwise after that, that's probably it. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Take care.